Good morning and welcome to the show. I'm here with Dr. Roman Nation from Nation's Best Family Healthcare up here in Lynn Haven and also out on Panama City Beach. Welcome back to the show,
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm well. Good to see you again. Now, you recently went to a conference, didn't you?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
There was a couple of us who went to the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine conference over in
Anti-Aging Medicine Conference. Now, that sounds like a conference I can learn something from.
They had a lot of interesting topics. The most interesting ones this time around was about gut flora, basically the bacteria that goes inside your gut.
And we all have it.
Well, we all have organisms that grow in our gut, that grow in our skin, they grow everywhere on your body. And you know, we've talked about before, when you get rashes and things like that, it's when one organism overgrows another one. So we have fungus and lots of other things that grow, and when they get out of balance is where we get like skin eruptions. I mean, that's the most tangible thing that people can notice, like jock itch and things like that, or when they get, you know, athlete's foot. All those things are bacterial overgrowth of one form or another, or fungus overgrowth.
So you've got this little jungle on your body, your body, that's really got to stay in balance.
And that's always been there. You know, we even have bugs that grow in our lungs as well. And when those things get out of balance is when we start having issues. So one of the things that's actually been very well established is gut flora treatments for things like IBS and Clostridium difficile.
IBS?
Irritable bowel syndrome.
I see.
So it's a lot of, you know, we have folks, and it usually happens in their mid-20s. For a lot of women, it happens in their 30s. And it consists of kind of these random bothersome symptoms that you can't get a handle on. So, you know, my gut cramps, or I'm constipated, or I alternate between constipation and diarrhea, I'm bloated, those types of things, and or I have pain in my abdomen. And then they go through the roundabout, you know, they'll go through the GI doctor in various different places, and they'll come back and say, well, we couldn't find anything, so, you know, you got to have irritable bowel syndrome. And so,
what about probiotics? I know some people try to populate their gut with the good bugs.
There is. There's a lot of. That's where the research is going towards. And there's a number of products out there. The problem is that of the studies that they've been done, there's about 20 or 30 different organisms that have a beneficial effect. Okay. Now the problem that we have is that depending on what is growing, overgrowing, or undergrowing in your gut, will then change what we need to add to it to balance it.
Oh, geez.
So therein lies the problem, and why, you know, this one-size-fits-all thing that you get from like Activia or any of the other products that you see over the counter, it doesn't really do a whole lot of good.
Yeah, it's like eat a lot of yogurt, you'll be fine.
Yeah, and it doesn't, because that's not the organism that's overgrowing. It's the, you know, other organisms that you have to add.
So how do you treat something like that, and how do you know if you've even got that imbalance?
Well, most people, you know, figure it out because your gut is irregular, or you'll have, you know, stomach cramping and those kinds of things. We have lots of stuff that is feeding into the what they call the leaky gut, basically meaning that when that buffer layer between your GI tract and the inside of your system gets weakened, then lots of toxins and stuff get in there. So,
and just being a parent of a child with autism, I know in the early years, when my son was first diagnosed, there was a lot of talk about leaky gut syndrome, and what all that means in relation to how they metabolize certain things. And
and we went to a specific presentation just for a few docs that was about some new protocols that they want to use for treating things like autism. And it consists of a set of probiotics with about 3 other chemicals that they use for detoxification, and then there's some other stuff that goes into it with, you have to change their diet, like processed foods is a real big thing that can cause problems, and at the same time, when you get into things like whole foods, where a lot of the topics are, is they use glyphosate, which is the active ingredient in Roundup. So we spray our food with Roundup, and then then you eat it.
Oh, that's awful.
And so that's where a lot of the research is headed, to try and identify some of these harder to treat things, like autism and autoimmune disorders like that.
This is a fascinating conversation, but we're up against the clock here. We've got to run off to local weather. But on the other side of that, I do want to talk more about this this balance and how it may affect children with autism, or just your normal person walking around out there trying to be healthy. We'll be right back after your Waking Up with Don weather. Welcome back to the show. I'm here with Dr. Roman Nation from Nation's Best Family Healthcare up here in Panama City, Lynn Haven, and also on Panama City Beach. And we're talking about your diet, and we've had a fascinating conversation but during the break about the relationship between diet and autism.
Correct. Yeah, there was some stuff about, we talk about microbiome is kind of the name.
Microbiome.
Yeah, and it's basically the organism structure inside your gut and your brain and your body and those kinds of things, and how when those things get out of balance is when some of these other diseases come up. So what we were talking about though is the IBS protocol. And
IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. For those of you just tuning in.
Yep. And and it also kind of is in the same spectrum as Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. So lots of people have those types of issues too. That you fix some of the bacterial layers inside your gut, and then things will heal on their own.
So there's a barrier in your gut, I suppose, that where maybe some bad stuff gets through that shouldn't.
Correct. Right. That's where some of the toxins that we consume get in there. And
like the Roundup that we put in our foods.
Glyphosate. It was kind of interesting. Glyphosate is why they genetically modify plants now in order so that they can put more Roundup on them to kill the weeds around it. But the glyphosate is technically not poisonous to humans, but we don't know if it's not contributing to some of these other things.
What long-term thing it may have. Again, another argument for whole foods, I guess, and for organic type things.
And the trouble is that even organic foods are hard to come by and expensive too. So when you're looking at trying to feed a family and you double your grocery bill, going the organic route is difficult to do.
So say I have some sort of digestive problem, whether it be Crohn's disease or IBS or whatever. How do I know that I'm not balanced? And what do I do to correct that balance? I know I'm out of balance, I guess, only because I have those symptoms, but what do you do to fix it?
What do you do to fix them? There's a couple, there's a few places around the nation that treat these kinds of things specifically, but they're very expensive. Perlmutter was one of the ones who gave his lecture there. He has a couple of books out. One of the ones is called, the newest one is called Brain Maker, and the older one is called Grain Brain. So it's a lot of stuff that pushes into the gluten-free type stuff, but gluten-free is not a magic bullet by any means, and nor is casein-free or soy protein-free, those kinds of things. None of those are in and of themselves specifically bad.
I know for children with autism, typically they have horrendous diarrhea at the early ages, and it was recommended to us by a doctor that we put them on a gluten and casein-free diet, which actually kind of cleared it up a little bit.
Yeah, it does for some. And then, like I said, that's where the difficult part comes into is lots of folks will try different things, but it doesn't necessarily fix it. And it's not just a matter of taking out the bad things that are making a problem, it's actually adding in the good things that will help heal things. And that was the company that we talked to, is they have a protocol that they're trying to institute for things like autism. And find some test cases so that they can get their stuff tested out and patented. So it's a series of about 5 or 6 different compounds, all of which are really natural type ingredients. One of them is bovine colostrum. So you know what colostrum is.
Is that something in milk?
That is. Colostrum is the initial, when babies are first born, that's the initial type of milk that moms produce is colostrum, because it's very high in specific micronutrients. And so that's one of the compounds that they're using in their protocols is bovine colostrum. But it also has some detox type supplements to go with it, and then some probiotics, and then some other stuff with CoQ10 and other antioxidant type things.
Well, very interesting. If somebody wanted to learn more about this, where could they go?
Well, they can come and talk to us about it for sure. If they wanted to go just the dietary route, those are the 2 books that we talked about from Dr. Perlmutter. And then Dr. Amen, Daniel Amen, A-M-E-N, has made a couple of books too. His is purely on the neurological side of things. It's called Change Your Brain.
Change Your Brain.
And he's got about 3 or 4 different books. But Eamon also wrote several books on ADHD that I thought were very useful too.
Well, Dr. Roman Nation, we're so out of time it's not funny, but thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a fascinating conversation.
Yes, sir.
And if people want to learn more about this study or more about
that protocol,
that protocol, they can always call you at Nation's Best Family Healthcare.
That's correct.
Up in Lynn Haven or out on Panama City Beach.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. I'm here with Dr. Aaron Shores from Spine and Neuropain Specialists here in Panama City and up in Chipley. And I see you brought Mr. Bones with you again today.
Yes, sir.
Now, pinched nerves. Is that a real deal, or is that just a layman's colloquialism for a backache?
No, pinched nerves are definitely a real deal, and
so it physically gets pinched.
It physically gets pinched, yeah, and that it's actually quite common. We see quite a bit of quite a number of different types of pinched nerves.
How does one go about pinching a nerve?
Yeah, the nerves in the low back can be pinched in several different ways. Probably one of the more common ways is a disc herniation, which is very common.
So that could be from bending the wrong way, lifting a heavy load, not bending at the knees or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. It can come from poor lifting techniques. Sometimes they just happen. We don't always know why they happen. Sometimes certainly trauma can be an inciting event. And then also as we all get older, our discs tend to become a little, we call them degenerated, or they get a little wear and tear in them, which can also predispose them to developing herniations. But when those herniations happen, they push backwards, and I think Mr. Bones here shows that example. There's a red,
if we can get a shot of that, we can see that right there is a herniation. Is it really that color, or is that just for illustrative purposes?
I think that's more for illustrative purposes. Okay. But the part of the inside of the disc that pushes outward, and that can push on the disc, or excuse me, on the nerve itself.
And that yellow thing here is your nerve.
That yellow thing is the nerve. And when that nerve gets pinched, then several different symptoms can occur. Probably one of the more common ones would be either pain or numbness. And if this occurred in the low back, the pain or numbness would be in the leg, most likely. Sometimes that disc herniation can also cause weakness. So patients will sometimes come in with back pain and leg numbness, or just leg numbness or weakness. So the disc herniation, when it pushes on that nerve, can become a significant source of pain.
You know, when you look at this here, it's like, oh, it's got plenty of room to move around, but this is all packed inside muscle and whatever else goes on.
Well, the muscle overlies that, but that space where that nerve pops out there, called the neuroforamen, is a tight space. And sometimes when folks get disc herniations, there's also a little bit of arthritis that happens in there as well. And that when osteoarthritis occurs, that can also cause narrowing.
And perhaps, you know, throw in a little muscle inflammation, you know, to kind of exacerbate the whole thing. You're probably in a lot of pain around this area.
Yeah, that can be quite uncomfortable for folks.
And really pinching.
And really pinching the nerve. So yes, it's definitely a real entity.
So how do you treat that?
Well, it depends on the severity of it. You know, certain severe cases, especially if there's spinal instability or other issues, can require surgery immediately. But oftentimes you can treat it more conservatively, either with physical therapy and behavioral modification, some anti-inflammatories. Sometimes the symptoms will resolve on their own. Sometimes injections are required to decrease inflammation. If all of that fails and it's still a particular significant pain problem for folks, then elective surgery can be performed as well.
I would imagine with a herniated disc, you really have to do some sort of dramatic intervention. I mean, will that go away on its own?
The disc herniations don't always go away on their own. Sometimes they can reduce in size.
And will they reduce in size to like a livable size that you can
just a matter of decreasing the symptoms. So when the symptoms get better and the patients are functioning and there's no nerve damage on physical exam, then we don't always worry about them. So it just depends upon each individual circumstance.
So you got to take a good hard look at it and decide the way ahead. It just looks painful, that thing, just looking at it. It's like, I don't want one of those,
right.
You know?
Yeah.
But I suppose that's a very dramatic one. They probably come in all sizes, don't they?
They do, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that one's all blown out.
Exactly.
So if you suspect you have a pinched nerve in your back, what do you do?
Well, I would say contact your physician if you have any concerns, and further workup, X-rays or MRI might be necessary, or maybe you need to see a specialist, someone who has expertise in this area, and see what your options are.
Dr. Aaron Shores from Spine and Neural Pain Specialist here in Panama City and up in Chipley. Thanks so much for getting us smart on pinched nerves.
You're welcome.
And we'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. I'm here with co-host Kristen Gramazio. You probably recognize her from our Hack Tuesdays.
Time to Hack Tuesdays.
Time to Hack Tuesday.
Yes.
Now, you come out with some really great hacks. And for people who don't know what a hack is, it's little shortcuts in life that make
using something that you wouldn't normally think of using for another purpose, to make your life a little bit easier.
There's some really clever little innovations out there that you can do.
Yes, there are. And there's some items that we've had from way back when that we probably don't use anymore that we can actually reuse today for nice handy hacks.
Like what, for instance?
Well,
I see you've got that old thing there.
Yes, I have something right here, which anybody before the 90s will not know what this is.
Us old people do, though. It's a cassette.
Yes, it's a cassette tape. And what you can do is get rid of the cassette tape and use the case. And I like to use this at my desk. So you just put your phone in, and it's a nice little stand. So if you wanted to watch movies, or for me at my desk while I'm working, I want to be able to talk on speakerphone. Sometimes having the phone flat, it's hard for the person to hear me. So having it elevated, I can hear them better because it's gonna, you know, project through the case, and I don't have to touch the phone. I can see who's calling, and it just makes it nice and convenient to be right there on my desk.
You don't have to buy a fancy little cradle for it or
Nothing.
anything. You got an old cassette kicking around somewhere.
Go through your dad's old stuff and see if you can find one.
Well, I don't have to go through my dad. I go through my old stuff and I can find some, but that's very clever.
This is a great one for, you know, if you have one at home. And if you don't, something I like to do when I travel is if I'm on a plane and I want to watch a movie, I save them on my phone, and I use my sunglasses. Most people don't realize you can use your sunglasses as something else, and you just have them folded over, and there you go. So when you just put down the tray on the airplane, you can sit there and watch a movie, or
you got that little cradle right there.
A little cradle right there, absolutely. So that's another thing that you can use to make a stand for your phone. One thing I like to do when going out with my girlfriends, some of them like to lose their phones after a few drinks. They just misplace them and don't know what they did with them.
Oh, geez.
So one good thing to do is to make your lock screen on your phone contact information. So most people, if you lost your phone, and I go to open it, I see nothing but a picture of your handsome son.
That's my
I don't
screen,
know how to get a hold of you because I don't know your password. So what you would do is you would take a picture of your name, email, and possibly another phone number of, you know, maybe a landline that they can leave you a voicemail on. So that way you can find out who has your phone and actually get it back.
That's actually very ingenious when you think about it.
Yes.
You know, I mean, you could put a label on it or whatever, but just have it on your screen.
Have it on your lock screen. They can't get into your phone, but they can at least see how to contact you.
Yeah, to give you your phone back, you know. Now, how do you find all these little innovations? Where do you come up with this stuff?
Well, with the world of the internet, they're everywhere. So, you know, do some research. Sometimes, you know, if I come up a little something by myself, you know, I'll find it online where someone has come up with it, but I've tweaked it a little bit. So,
well, Time to Hack Tuesdays is really a popular little segment that we're doing now. And if somebody has their own little hacks, maybe they can help.
Yes, I would love to hear from the viewers that have a hack, and they can email me at timetohacktuesdays@gmail.com. And I will try their hack. If they have one that they want me to try and see viewed on the next episode, contact me.
Yeah, Time to Hack Tuesdays on Waking Up with Don with Kristen Gramazio, and it's timetohacktuesdays@gmail.com.
Correct.
So if you want to make a contribution to this crazy little thing, we'll make sure to give you a little credit too.
Yes,
for
absolutely.
It, you know?
Yeah.
So keep those hacks coming in.
Yes.
We're going to make our lives even funner with
and easier with these hacks.
With old cassettes and sunglasses and stuff like that. Thanks so much, Kristen, for coming on the show.
Absolutely.
And we look forward to your next set of hacks tomorrow.
Yes,
actually.
tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow. Tune in. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the show, guys. It's Randy, your Waking Up with Don trainer. I want to talk to you guys about a pretty sore subject for me. I have a lot of people ask questions about how to lose abdominal fat and then directly proceed into telling me how many crunches they do. Well, crunches don't necessarily burn abdominal fat. They do help to strengthen and shape up those abdominal muscles, but in order to get your body fat where you want it, you need to watch your diet and do your cardio. Nonetheless, I'll show you guys how to do a few of my favorite crunch variations, so that way when you get to that point, you can make the most of your time. Okay? So I'm going to go down to the floor and show you guys a couple things, and in that way you can not only get a good abdominal workout in, but you can keep your neck and your spine from being injured as well. Here we go. Crunching does not have to be difficult. First thing that a lot of people do is tend to want to pull their neck up and then their abdominals come up. So it would probably be best to put your hands across your chest and then just come up as far as you can. Another thing that you can do is instead of even bringing your upper torso up, you can just bring your legs up. So if you want, just bring your legs up and crunch forward like so. From this position, you can also mix those two different types of crunches. Put your legs up here, gently place your hands on the side of your head, and try to use your knees as a target for your elbows to come up and touch. Just by using these 3 variations of the crunch, you can get a pretty effective ab workout and keep your spine and neck in good shape without causing any injury. So there you have it, folks. That's one way to keep your neck and spine safe and do all of the abdominal exercises you need. But just remember, just because you do abdominal work does not mean that you're going to lose belly fat. And one thing to keep in mind is if you do too many crunches and you're not doing anything to keep your body fat in check, it's only going to make your stomach protrude even further. So just keep all those things in mind and it'll keep you healthy and happy. If you want to reach me, you can always email me at 5lfitnesspc@gmail.com. Our website, www.5lfitness.com. And we're also at Impact Fitness in Callaway, and we're the sole providers of personal training services at Tyndall Air Force Base. Thank you.